Welcome to the Nebraska Land Bank podcast. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Ty.
We're here to prove that finance and fun can go hand in hand.
Join us as we spotlight community growth, finance, sports, community events, and maybe even a great food find.
We're always community-minded.
Every voice,
every topic,
every time.
So turn the volume up, settle in, and let's talk Nebraska Land. Welcome back to another episode of the Nebraska Land Bank podcast. Today we're thrilled to have Jordan Mawson and Jory Torres from Clean Can Company joining us. Jordan and Jory are here to share their exciting new business venture and the amazing service they have for the people of North Platte. Discover with us the essential trash can solution you never knew you needed. But first, I have a fun icebreaker question for us. I'm going to start with you today, Ty. Have you ever dumpster dived?
I mean, what is that?
Have you ever driven through alleys or driven by a dumpster and seen an item sitting and taken the item?
Well, I'm definitely in the process of always trying to get stuff thrown away versus picking up somebody else's junk. But I do recall once upon a time me seeing a rabbit hutch when my kids were young and asking the person getting rid of it if they needed it, and I think ended up with a rabbit hutch.
What is a rabbit hutch?
Well, it's a house for pet rabbits.
Oh,
so my kids were like 4 and 5 or something, and they weirdly wanted a rabbit, and I saw one, ended up with it, probably spent more money renovating it and fixing it up than I would have on a new one, but you know how it goes.
I did not.
I'm not into trash. I'm trying to
you.
get rid of stuff. I'm about getting rid of stuff.
Yeah. I used to be a big dumpster diver. So old ladders. Okay, so here's the thing. You go through alleys and you can find some real treasures, like old furniture that needs just you can flip it. And so there was once in my life where I found a bunch of old ladders, loaded them up.
Wow.
Took them home, and I was going to do something fun with them.
Just like solid wood ladders.
Yeah, but they
Older.
were antique-y kind of. I don't know if they were antiques, but they're old paint chippy kind of ladders. Yeah. Took them home, never did do anything with them. So put them on a garage sale. I made $10 a ladder.
There you go.
People love old junk that you It's just that flip it market where you refurbish junk into it. So
Sounds
I'm
like
a big.
You need to put her on the podcast for her entrepreneurial skills.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah, now you got to hit these guys up with the same question, right? Any dumpster diving or whatever we call it here in your past?
I can't think of specific items exactly, but I always remember in college when I lived in the dorms, they'd bring the last week of school, they'd bring these giant roll-offs, 20, 30 foot long ones. People would just throw away brand new stuff in those things. So our sophomore year, I think we went through 30 of them throughout East Campus over Ag College and then on downtown, and found new office chairs and beanbag chairs for our living room and stuff for our new house we're moving to down there in Lincoln. That's kind of my story on that.
Yeah.
How about you, Jory?
I actually have never once dumpster dove. I am probably one of those people that therapeutically throws things away. So when I'm in crazy mode, as coworkers of mine and my wife call it, my mom calls it, I get to where I just start throwing stuff away. If it hasn't been used at my house, I'm like, we don't need it.
You can just call
so I'll either give it away or I will. I don't throw good stuff away, but yes, I do enjoy throwing things away that don't get used.
Oh, I'm a regular drop off at Goodwill. Yes. That is seriously therapeutic. I agree.
Yes, I found a new love, the bargain bin, St. Pat's.
Yeah.
So we are very we go to church there. So every time we have something that we don't need, I'm like, take that to the bargain bin. Yeah. So Goodwill, bargain bin. Yeah. That's
I like the bargain bin idea because whenever you watch Goodwill's financial results on CNBC, you're thinking, gosh, I wish there was a little more of a local organization. Nothing against Goodwill, but it's good to know there's good local options on that too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I actually have a big tote of things in my car right now that I need to drop off.
Yep.
Well, let's dive in. To start off, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Clean Can Company and the inspiration behind starting it off, and kind of just a little bit of personal background as well?
Sure. Yeah. So both of us are business owners here in North Platte, doing just different things with real estate for me, and Jory runs traffic supply company. But really the idea came from, it's kind of random, really. Ty, of all people here, posts something on Facebook wondering if there's a service in town about trash can cleaning. And just kind of like, this kind of sounds interesting. So we did a little bit of quick research, and I was like, who could I call that would be motivational and want to jump in on this with me? So I thought of Jory immediately. I'm like,
/ crazy enough.
That's why I
Forgot
got
the
the crazy thing, right?
Goes back to the therapeutic throwing away things, right? I got it. Yeah.
So a combination of both of that is just like really stemmed this idea. And we spent several days digging through the internet trying to find if this is an actually viable business out there. And lo and behold, it is. It's all over the United States, and there's very successful markets out there. And through a lot of research, digging through companies in Florida to California and trying to build our own trailer and put all this stuff together. And we wanted to be pretty high class. So we found this company in Watertown, South Dakota that builds these things specially for this. And after consulting with the guy up there and learning about his business, we found that at a town of about 20,000 people like Watertown in rural South Dakota, nothing else around it, having a successful business there, we can probably pull this off in North Platte.
Yeah, and he ended up actually selling it to a landscaper, didn't he?
He did. He had
and it's still running
right.
smooth.
Those guys
there.
are cleaning 150 trash cans a day in Watertown, South Dakota, which is, like I said, no different than North Platte, really.
We went there to pick. I've been there a couple times because I do business out there, and it's very comparable to a North Platte with their chain restaurants and just the way it looks. Just very comparable.
Now, you've got to tell our listeners, if they haven't seen it in action, walk them through what you do with your primary service.
So yeah, our backbone of our business is trash can cleaning. So if you live in town, likely you have a wheelie trash can. You know, it's got the two wheels, and you pull it from your garage or, you know, beside your house. Maybe it sits in the alleyway, but either way, it's a smaller trash can. You pull it out, and what happens is we'll drive by whenever you would get us scheduled, and we'll take that trash can when it's empty, of course, after the trash guys come. And we have a machine that has two claws, if you will. It squeezes it down, and it'll lift it back up over the top of a 360-degree washing head. When we use hot water through our hot seat pressure washing system, that will clean out these bins. It's virtually at 200-degree water. You're sanitizing
3,000 psi,
3,000 psi,
12 gallons a minute. So it's really a lot of water to clean these right, you know, the right way.
Right. The best part about that too is we're not just throwing all this waste and stuff out on the streets. You know, naturally some water is going to squirt out, but 98% of the stuff's being self-contained within our machine.
Yeah. So like Ty's house,
we did have a little bit of a problem at my house with an item, but I'll let you guys get into that. I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about.
I was going to say to your house, you don't have alley access. So you really, if you were going to buy this service, you wouldn't want your trash cans cleaned and then you're going to find a huge puddle of, you know, sludge and slurry in your driveway.
Right.
So that's the good part about what we're doing for houses like Ty's, where he doesn't have alley access, because he's got to wheel that up to the side of his house, and then they've got to drive, you know, we cleaned it in his driveway basically. So it was a good thing that we had that self-recovery system. That way we didn't leave a mess. We took everything with us, and we took the duck foot with us that was in the bottom of the trash can from hunting season. Yeah.
So
cool.
Embarrassingly enough, and I'm trying to remember what month this was. It was a few months after hunting season, mid-July. Yeah. There had been, you know, because we go duck hunting periodically, and we clean all the birds, and apparently the orange foot of a duck had sludgely stuck itself to the bottom of this trash can and like binded itself to it.
Yeah.
Well, they got the duck foot out. So
that is so funny. That answers one of my questions of like, why does somebody need this service?
Well, I don't even think you could have seen the duck foot at the beginning. It was like, it was under like sludge and slurry. It's like adhesives and grease.
I didn't know it was there.
Just a assortment of crap that is trash, right? We forget how it gets. I mean, you have one bag break, and like I'm a neat freak. I have one bag break. I need this service.
Yeah, the other thing, you know, with all of that, you throw away any kind of piece of meat or vegetables or something.
Fat.
The research behind it shows that maggots will show up within 7 to 20 hours. So I mean, they're there quick. You throw that in there, and by the middle of the afternoon, you got maggots already on your growing in your trash can.
Yeah,
and that's pretty nasty.
It is nasty.
And a lot of people,
before.
they'll also do dog droppings in their trash can. why not have it cleaned if you're going to do that? Like, I mean,
so then every time you go to throw something away and you open it up, you're not just like,
well, it gets ripe. I mean, it's middle of summer with, feces. So, I mean, the subject is, it's a tough subject because it's human waste. It's just waste. So it's like, it's not a job that the consumer, the homeowner really wants to deal with, and they shouldn't have to tackle it. That's why we feel strongly about having our services, because you shouldn't have to have your mom do that or your kids clean it out. Your husband shouldn't even have to do it. It's just so gross. We get filthy when we're doing it, and we have the right equipment. So like, try it once and then tell me. Like, and I got to clear this up with Jordan, but I think we need to do some free stuff, just in our marketing, which we'll get into that.
Yeah, we've got some cool ideas we're going to work in. We kind of got our stuff a little late this year. We were hoping it was here by like the 1st of April, like we were kind of promised, and then it ended up being like middle of July, and then everything still wasn't perfect. We had a leak in our water tank, and some other things that just
working through new business owner issues
essentially. So we're really hoping to take this off season here from the end of November through the middle part of February, late part of February, to really ramp up our advertising and get this thing out there so people can get signed up for next spring and have this as a part of their service.
Okay, so this is seasonal.
We really don't operate in the wintertime just because our stuff's so sensitive. We got a lot of fine water lines and other things running through our power washing equipment. It's just to keep it stored without draining it every single time. It's just too much work. And we do have a hired man that works for us. And by the time he would go and get it all reprimed back up and going, he just spent 2 hours, and it's not even worth us cleaning a trash can that day.
There's a couple months where we've kind of decided we were going to shut down for the winter.
The quality of service is fantastic. I would tell you that my wife has deemed this an essential service. I mean, this is not a, oh, it's nice to have it. Or, I mean, and really it's I will say the job they do and the cleanliness of the cans afterwards, it just makes everything feel cleaner. And then you find yourself being super anal about bags not breaking and taking care of them and all of that. So it's funny because to me, it's like just one of those like pest items out there that somebody has now solved this problem and I don't have to worry about it anymore. And they really do a great job. It was interesting when we first started talking about this. I was aware of a service in Lincoln. My son knew a young man who had gotten into this business whose uncle was in it. And I think this is a service that 5 years from now or some will be a absolute standard service, like the Culligan Man is, or like, regular trash service are, and those things. I think this will become something that people become accustomed to because it's just one less thing they have to worry about.
We do too. I think that once you do it, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, my neighbor did it.
Right.
Maybe I need to do it.
That's what Nate told us too. He goes, honestly, the hardest part of this business is getting people to do it.
Yeah.
And
Nate's with Rhino Services LLC.
He's who we bought our trailer from in South Dakota. But he goes, once you get them to do it, he goes, they won't quit. They'll keep it. If you think about how many subscriptions are out there right now, and this is kind of a subscription-based deal. I mean, you're probably paying for 3 or 4 subscriptions on your TV that you don't even know you have anymore. Exactly. And this is no more expensive than any one of those, but yet this one's actually doing something for you. It's keeping your trash cans clean. When you go out there and throw your trash bag in it, you're not getting, potential salmonella or something on your hands when you go back in your house and you pick your nose or you take a bite of the donut that you left on the counter, things like that is going to spread these into your body. So it's just keeping another layer of cleanliness around your property.
Absolutely.
What is the pricing structure?
So right now we have 4 different options, basically a monthly, a quarterly, a biannual, and a one-time cleaning. And we've kind of had a little bit of everything. We've got customers in all 4 of those categories, but the monthly is $16.99 for 2 trash cans, and then any additional trash can is an extra $2. The quarterly, I think, is $39.99 plus $10 for the additional can over the 2. The biannual, I can't remember the exact number. I think it's like $55 for twice a year. And then the one-time cleaning, if you just wanted us to come one time, it's $75. And I've had a few people go, that's a little high. And I go, well, here's the thing. One, we have to come to you. We have to drive our stuff over there. We have to take our time to go do it. 2, usually the first time cleaning is the worst by far, because there's a lot, you have to spend a lot more time scraping things potentially and breaking that gunk down with the hot water. It just takes a lot longer. So if we did it for a lot cheaper, we'd get a ton of people just wanting us to come one time, and then they never want us to come back again. So we try to make it to where it's, if you only want us to come one time, it's worth our time to come over there. It has to be worth it.
Yeah. I think
and we've had some people sign up for the one time. So,
Yeah, it's funny. I think the monthly service has a lot of value in what these guys are doing, and it's just so nice to have it taken care of. Really is.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about your marketing strategy and kind of what you've mentioned that you've got some ideas in store for next year. I'm curious.
Yeah, that's kind of what Jory and I, some of our plan this fall is to target into some of that. And we've done a radio ad so far, and I can't say that it's really done a ton of good for us. We did get a referral that they heard it on the radio, but that's been only one of our, couple dozen customers that we have so far. I think the biggest thing is getting some more social media presence out there, trying to push that out. We do have a live remote set up. We were hoping to get that done this fall, but I don't know if it's going to happen. So we'll probably shoot for next spring with our live remote, and probably do some giveaways, maybe some discounts if you come sign up that day, that kind of stuff to try to drive some more business in, those types of deals. That's kind of on our radar. We just really haven't set an exact plan on fire yet.
I think we have a remote with Eagle that we already have paid for.
Mm-hmm.
We just didn't have time to get it on the schedule. So I think we're going to try to do that. And when we do that, I really want to have the trailer out there working that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to have people have a more aggressive pricing structure for that day. The issue with that, when we were talking about that, is we use a platform to organize our business called Jobber, and we just don't know if we can take those plans that we already have within Jobber and we can set there and break down like a sale rate in Jobber. So we just basically need to talk to our Jobber rep and see what actually that program can do. But apps like that, we would have never been able to do this business without the way the technology has pushed, industry forward. It's just that Jobber is what it's called. And it's like HVAC companies, all sorts of like service companies use them all over the United States.
Yeah,
and it's just streamlines there. It even creates routes so that the driver doesn't have to think about where to go. It just lines it up.
Yeah. And when he talks about the routing part of it, it's not, we thought it was a little different than what it ended up being, but it's basically clustering groups of properties together that you're going to, and not sending you from the East End and North Platte clear to the West End, back clear to the East End, back and forth. It's saying, hey, here's the route you want to take. And then you as the driver, whoever's doing it, has to kind of figure out what streets do I need to take, but at least I know I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah.
So,
it's interesting when I'm working on my part-time job at the city council. Trash service is a big thing that the city of North Platte offers. It's something the city's very proud of, to have affordable, quality trash service. The people that work in that department handle the trash cans on a daily basis. You can't believe how big of a deal this is to those employees to deal with cleaner cans. And I've started to hear that feedback as I've interacted with people at the city about how quicker, easier, less stressful, less disgusting it is if people get in a can of taking care of a pattern of taking care of their trash cans, which actually they set under trash agreement or ordinance or whatever it is, that people are actually responsible to keep their trash cans clean. And I didn't know anything about that. So in addition to something that is, I think, has health benefits and is also just something very nice to have taken care of, you're also helping out our hardworking sanitation workers that really do a great job in town too.
Right.
As I've thought about this company, what's interesting to me, think about the scheduling and the routing. Danielle, how often is your trash can empty?
Once a week.
For how long?
Hours, a few
hours.
Probably
like
not
a day
long.
or half a day.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Very short.
So think about that.
Yeah.
Think about the task that these guys have. And that's, I think, where you're talking about your software.
Yeah.
And I really never thought about that till I got to talk with them more about the company. But scheduling is a huge part of managing a company like this, isn't it?
Yeah. And so it's mostly automated when it comes to the scheduling side. We still have to kind of go through and set up, as we get new customers, where we want them to be in the schedule and on what days. But within that order form, when they log into our website and click through that and select what they want, you pick what day is your trash getting picked up. Is it picked up on Monday? Is it picked up on Friday? What day is it? What time is it picked up? Is it picked up between 8 and 10? Is it picked up between 5 and 8 at night? I mean, there's a bunch of options and different things you can select on there to make it more tailored towards your property. So we don't show up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and your trash is still in there. And we're like, well, we got to come back. And then we have to try to figure out, you know, can we get back today or do we have to push it off till next week? So that's important too with our scheduling.
This website, is that something that Jobber obviously existed for this type of business?
Correct. Yes.
Yep.
The website, is that something that you had to create, or
the website, where I think we've about got it launched. We've been kind of waiting on some pictures and some other things to get updated so we could have some actual real pictures, not fake random guys that we found on the internet.
Stock
photos of random dudes out there. But anyway, our website takes you to it's cleancanNP.com. So that's cleancanNP.com. But it'll take you to our Jobber link directly. And
which the Jobber link is just to sign up for
just to schedule, but
it has no information about our company yet.
Correct, but coming soon, built in with that will be information about our company and pictures of what we have, different things that we can offer, some other just examples of things, and then there'll also be a service tab within there that will take you to that Jobber order form.
Yeah.
Also, another thing that we did was on our business cards, we included a barcode or a QR code, that you can scan on your phone, and it'll take you directly to that Jobber link to where you can just sign up for service right then and there. So that's the big one. We ran into a lot of people prior to us having the QR code on there. We'd be like, yeah, you should go sign up on here. We'll email you the link, and nobody would sign up. But if you got them right there and we're trying to sell this to them, and I go, here, just scan it right on our card. They can take a picture of it, scans right through it, takes them right into the deal, and within 10 seconds, they can submit a request. And then from that request, it comes to us. And then from there, we build the schedule based upon the requests that we get.
Are there some other services that you guys provide with the use of your equipment?
Yeah, Jory, if you want to talk about a couple of the other basic things that we're going to start out with. We have some more advanced things that we may consider in the future, but he can talk about some of the basic ones that we can offer right now.
Yeah. First, I'll give a little background on me, because that's kind of tells the story of why, I would have even considered this. So I got my start in business with our traffic control company that we have in North Platte. We operate basically from York to about Sterling, Colorado. And what we do within this traffic control company, we do subcontracting work for all types of paving companies for highway and road construction. And within that, we have to paint road lines, and we also have to prep before we stripe the new roads for any sort of lane adjustments or rerouting of traffic. So that gave me my start in pressure washing. I kind of had that background because of the water blasters that we ran at CSI to kind of remove paint lines. So that's what kind of gave me my knowledge of surface cleaning in general. So it was always a dream of mine through CSI to have a pressure washer that went around and did little stuff for our painting crew that our big water blaster wouldn't have the space to get into. So I was always kind of like, I need to get something at some point to do some surface cleaning. So when I found out we could do this with this machine, I was like, hold up. I can subcontract now for CSI if we get there, right? Mm-hmm. We want to ace trash cans first, but there's no reason we couldn't do prep work for painting, striping companies that do any sort of pavement marking. So that's one thing that we can get into. Another thing is just cleaning grease off your parking lots. You guys have your drive-throughs here, and I know they get cleaned. So we need to hit up local banks, local businesses, Walmarts, anywhere you can think. A lot of restaurants have potential because of the grease that they deal with, and it's just dirty back there.
Even just driveways.
We just got done doing a grease trap cleaning for Dave's place. So, and that was really nice. And they had no idea that kind of stuff could be done. And it's just our mission really is to push the community to be cleaner. I mean, really, it is. It's like putting friendly pressure on each other to help each other create a culture of cleanliness. When I lived in Lincoln in college, I met a bunch of people that were from other towns and other areas of Nebraska. And every time I would introduce myself and they'd be like, "You're from North Platte?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Wow, dirty." And I'm like, "Why?" Like, I don't get it. Like,
that was the one that you always heard. North
that's
Platte,
the image.
Dirty, right?
That's the image of our town. So I took that, and when I was in school, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a chip on my shoulder. I had a chip on my shoulder with all of my friends that were from other towns, because they just constantly would make fun of me and kind of almost put me down for wanting to come back here and wanting to be that community-driven guy. And part of doing this, the Clean Can Company, I really think for me was just proving it to myself almost that I cared enough to invest in this community for something bigger than just being in business. So like between Jordan and I, we have 7, about to be 8 kids between us two families. And we truly do not want this town to go down. I'm here and I'm not leaving, right?
You hear
I'm
from
stuck here.
Yeah, you hear from a lot of entrepreneurs around this town on just trying to do things to make this community better and keep our kids here. And this is just another avenue. If we can make it, 10 years, guess what? We're probably hiring our 2 boys to go out there and do this for us.
Yeah,
like, that's
and
what better
way?
Job. Like, why not?
What better way to teach community like investment and just rallying around each other than keeping things clean?
Right. Well, that brings me to a point that I was kind of an intention of mine behind this business. I run a successful farm and ranch real estate business, and Jory runs his Chief Road Supply. And the biggest thing that we were trying to find is how can we help better our community? Well, one, this is going to help keep the community clean, but 2, it gives us an extra resource or an extra revenue stream, to be able to have a little extra cash to help sponsor community build playgrounds. Give some money maybe to like the bike track. Obviously we got to make sure the business works first and first and foremost, but a goal of ours is to be able to help give back to the community of North Platte. And whether that's us investing in maybe a new house, the duplexes, or a new warehouse shop building where you can store your things. Like we're renting a building for our stuff right now, and it's it's fine, but it's not what we would really truthfully want to have our equipment in, but it's there, and North Platte needs more of that. In our searching for a building to store in, we literally called probably 30 different landlords, if you will, in town to find something that could accommodate our building. We couldn't find anything anywhere in this town. And if we did find something that was costing us thousands of dollars a month
with a 20-person wait
pick
list,
up in a trailer with a 20-person wait
10
list.
to 20-person wait list on these commercial. So, which is a great problem to have, right? I mean, we'd be upset if it was the other way and they were just sitting empty. But
so that sparked our idea too, to take some of this and help build some more of those, to where you have other small businesses in town that are looking for a nice little location to start a small business, that they're available. So that's really our ultimate goal, is to do that, and not take fancy vacations with our money, but to help better the community from this particular business.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, I'm a big fan of this service, and I just really encourage our listeners, just give it a shot. I think if you give these guys a shot, you'll be very, very impressed.
Yeah, one thing that struck me as I was listening to is, as we sit down with entrepreneurs and community leaders, one common thread is just that, the pride that they have in our community, and the drive behind what they do is to make it a better place for their own family and for other families. And so I just think it's really interesting to hear you kind of echo that same sentiment, and just want to thank you guys for your investment in North Platte.
Yeah, thanks. I want to leave one quick note here. We were doing some research on and sitting with the city department and talking about how many trash cans North Platte actually has. And there's somewhere north of 20,000 garbage cans that are wheeled in and out of homes or in their alleyways that are in North Platte. And doing a little further research, there's currently almost 1,100 homes that do not have alley access. And that's kind of our primary candidate, because you want those clean if they're going in your garage. But as North Platte continues to grow and expand, there's no more alleys going in. So all these new homes and everything else that are going in are going to need to keep your trash cans in your garage or right next to them. And I think that's where this service really hits home.
A big thing for us, I think, marketing going forward is going to be keeping it simple. Those yard signs that people put out.
Yeah.
Like, we need to just put those yard signs out, little things like that. Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and then good old fashioned word of mouth.
Marketing is very simple for this business, because we're not like trying to target a huge like state or multi-state area. It's literally, we're just trying to target here in North Platte.
Your neighbors.
You and your neighbors. So that's word of mouth is going to be huge, and just trying to get people to actually do it, like Nate said, is the hardest part. Once they do it, they're hooked.
Yeah.
And it's affordable.
Yeah, I think the pricing structure is really fair for what you guys are bringing to the table.
Good.
Well, Ty, should we move on to asking for a friend segment?
Sure.
Okay. So this question this week is, should I buy out my lease and purchase the vehicle now or wait until the end of my lease? With only 6 months remaining on my lease, I'm considering my options. In this interest rate climate, I want to make the best decision for my future vehicle ownership.
Let's talk about car leasing for just a second, because this is an interesting topic. It's funny. I've always enjoyed a lot of Dave Ramsey's teachings and some of the different things out there. And, he calls car leases the fleeces, right? I mean, that's what he calls the lease, the fleece, right? Which is interesting, because I used to really believe that. Now, and my concerns with leasing originally were that the interest cost factor was so high in them. Well, I think I made some public comments, or maybe on a podcast or what, about that. And I had some of my car dealer friends educate me on some things with it, which was interesting. I've learned some things. There are opportunities to, quote unquote, gig the system a little bit with leases if you are somebody that is a low mile driver and you have a car that naturally holds its value. So take a Camry, take a Honda, take a F-150 pickup, take a Chevy pickup. Believe it or not, if you're a low mileage user, if you run the math, sometimes they work. So just so you know, Ty shifted from the leases or fleeces to the, hey, leases with good math can make sense camp. Okay. So let's say I move from all the way to one side to kind of the middle. Now, obviously, if people can afford to pay cash and avoid paying interest costs, that's a great way to go with vehicles. But leasing can make sense, which wasn't your question. Your question was, should you pay them off early? Okay, just like anything else, I keep coming back to this in this segment, it's about math. It's about, what is my lease payoff? Now, generally, when you pay off a lease, you're going to pay out all the payments. So let's say, like, if I have a loan and I have 6 months left, I'm going to pay it off. I'm going to stop paying the interest for the next 6 months. Well, in a lease, you're going to pay it out through the end of the lease. So, okay, back when we had Mr. Movies, if I went to Mr. Movie and rented a movie for 5 days, well, if I bring it back 3 days early, they're not giving me 2 days credit back, right? Not normally. So a lease works a little bit that way. So in general, I don't think you want to pay them off too early, but there are cases where there's some advantages to, like, at the 60 or 90 or 120 day window, that the sales tax management, I think, can work a little different. That's more of a dealer question, that you can work through your lease, and it also depends with your miles, in a way that it could be advantageous. My advice is to work with reputable dealers, and particularly local reputable dealers, people in their finance areas who know what they're doing, and solve for that interest cost. You should know, if you're going to sign up for a lease, you should know, well, what's the real interest rate associated with this? If it's 13%, that's probably not such a great deal. If it's 3 or 4% and a loan, and that's less than the loan climate, then it could be a good deal. And so I'm not giving you a very direct answer, but I think the answer is to use math and make a good decision based off your situation, and work with people, they're experts, to help, get that math right. I mean, do you guys have
During COVID, they were doing 1% leases.
Right.
So, right. I mean, you wouldn't want to get out of that, right?
Right.
Technically. You want to ride that one out.
Exactly. Now, you do have to be a little careful with leasing. If your miles get way over, that can be a problem with some of things. So I'm definitely a believer that people that are more under the mileage tend to do better in lease situations. But I don't know, Jordan, any input from your end?
I don't worry about leases. I drive 20 to 30, 40,000 miles a year, so I'm not.
You're not
I'm not in the lease.
You're not a lease candidate. Yeah, and I would tell you, our bank doesn't get into leases either, but we have great relationships with a lot of the dealers that do and offer them, and they do fit certain people, and especially when certain incentives are offered. So does that help?
I think so. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's all about the math, but you can't anticipate what interest rates are going to do in that term. So I think she's just got to make her best educated guess.
Yeah. And as a bank, we're always here to help our customers run math independently if they need some assistance with that. We realize it's not something that people do every day. I've got maybe one final question for these guys. As you guys have launched a new business, which isn't as easy as it sounds, I mean, what's been one or two of the biggest challenges?
That's tough because I think one of our biggest challenges, and we've kind of said it a couple of times, is really just getting people to recognize your business and get signed up for it. And I can use the example of me in real estate. It took me about 5 years before I got to the point people started calling me specifically on, hey, Jordan does this, let's call him. And it's going to do the same thing with Clean Can Company. It takes some time. There's only so much money you can throw at advertising and other things to get people to do your business. It's kind of a word of mouth and making sure that the product you're bringing forward is of quality that people are willing to pay for. So I think that's been one of the biggest challenges, is just getting people convinced to do this business.
Yeah, I think for me, is just I'm in a constant battle of spreading myself a little too thin. So, and I have a hard time seeing that. So I have to basically go home and fall apart in front of my wife, and then she helps me pick up the pieces that is me and puts them back together and gets me, back focused. So for me, this is, I think, my fifth business that I'm an owner in. I've gotten to the point where I've kind of lost track, and it's one of those things that it's fun, but man, it's not for everybody. So the hard part has been for me staying focused, getting motivated, not being too hard on myself, because it's very result driven. The results aren't really coming very fast here. So just like not putting so much pressure on myself, because I can't really control it. So it's like you kind of have to just almost be patient and just let things fall into place naturally, a little bit organically, and just kind of not put a ton of pressure on yourself. Thank God we can, because this is a secondary revenue stream, and it's just kind of the way we modeled the business was we'll go when we have to, but
It's kind of funny bouncing off of what Jory said about motivation, because I've always been one very good at what I do, but I'm tough to get motivated. I just sit around and whoa, what should I do today, or this and that. But I tell you, since February, when we kind of sparked this idea out there and I brought Jory into the picture, I can say that my real estate business and this business has grown because of the motivation level that he brings to me. I can talk to him, and next thing you know, I'm like, let's go, man. Let's go get this done. He says he struggles with motivation, but he's a really good motivator. So he just can get the job done.
Yeah. I think they gave us a really great business lesson there with that final question.
Yeah. You guys have had a lot of awesome little nuggets.
Well, we wish you so well with everything that you guys are doing. Again, I encourage our listeners, give these guys a shot. It's a fantastic service. And once you go there, you're never going back. It's worth every penny of it.
Thanks, Ty.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for spending your afternoon with us. Thanks for tuning in. For our next episode, we are thrilled to have the owners of the exciting new Pizza Ranch business joining us. You know who they are. Jeff and Shay Caldwell will be back with us. Get ready to discover all the delicious offerings this new restaurant will have. We value your loyal support as a listener of the Nebraskaland Bank podcast. Remember to spread the word and share your favorite episodes with your friends. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to stay up to date. For additional information, please visit nebraskalandbank.com/podcast. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.